Hello and welcome everyone. This is Professor Siddharth Surana. I hope you guys are doing good. और मैं तो हमेशा मस्त ही रहता हूँ. अरे obviously I have to be must, no? Highest number of exemptions, back-to-back attempts. So now let us today discuss the RTP, the revision test paper released for November. Actually November shifted to December 2021. Exams, I do agree that I am a little late, but then good things take time, so you have to be a little patient. Der hai, durust hai. Today we will be doing the December 21 RTP of CA Final Direct Tax. Let me be clear about what am I going to cover in this RTP lecture with you. This RTP lecture will be divided in 3 parts. We will be discussing new case laws. Well, we have only about 3 or 4 newly introduced case laws. Last 1.5-2 years से courts ने काम ही नहीं किया है, तो case law आएगा कहाँ से? So we have about only 3-4 case laws over and above what we have covered in our normal full course batches. We have about 3-4 small circulars, so we will be discussing those circulars, very small and basic circulars we have. And then we have the main RTP, which will be having MCQ, where MCQ we will be doing in detail, mainly the solving part, and the subjective questions in the RTP we will be just having a discussion on it. देखो MCQ we will do in detail primarily because ये जो back to back 2 attempt में highest number of exemptions in India आया है ना, one of the biggest contributions to that has been the MCQ book that we have made highest number across the country and the MCQ lectures that we have conducted. So I don't want to leave anything under any circumstance. I want the students to get best marks in MCQ. So this is what we are going to be discussing. This you will get on ICAI website in the name of something called Judicial Update. This you will get on the website called Statutory Update, and this is available as RTP ka link, so you can download. And this is what we are going to be discussing in the RTP class that we are having right now. This is going to be our area of discussion. So let's go to the first part of the RTP first. The case laws. We have hardly 3-4 case laws. Let's discuss them. We have DCIT versus Pepsi Foods, Supreme Court judgment of 2021. Would automatic vacation of stay order upon expiry of extended period of stay of 365 days be valid, where the delay in disposing the appeal is not attributable to the assessee? See, majorly the communication language of this lecture is going to be in English. Majorly in English. थोड़ी बहुत हिंदी यूज होगी, इतनी यूज होगी कि साउथ के बच्चों को भी समझ में आ जाए, उतना ही हिंदी यूज होगा. इंग्लिश ज्यादा करके वी विल बी यूजिंग. सो यू डोंट एक्सपेक्ट मी टू मेक सेपरेट आरटीपी लेक्चर फॉर हिंदी ऑडियंस एंड इंग्लिश ऑडियंस. दैट इज नॉट पॉसिबल. तो मेजरली इंग्लिश में बात करेंगे, थोड़ा बहुत हिंदी यूज होगा. डिले नॉट एट्रीब्यूटेबल टू द असेसी. तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल प्रोविजन को याद करते हैं. फर्स्ट, डज आईटैट हैव द पावर टू ग्रांट स्टे? यस. व्हाट इज द वैलिडिटी पीरियड ऑफ स्टे? 180 days. It can be extended up to a maximum of 365 days. While giving that extension, we had said that the delay should not be attributable to the assessee. That was one amendment that we have studied. And the other thing was that the assessee should be willing to pay at least 20%. So 180 को extend करके we want to make 365. There are conditions. But what after 365 days? After the expiry of 365 days, क्या होगा? One answer that sir, automatically the stay will get vacated. मतलब बेसिकली अंडर एनी सर्कमस्टेंस आफ्टर 365 डेज तो स्टे ऑर्डर वैलिड ही नहीं रहेगा. सी 180 इज मिनिमम, वी एक्सटेंड, इट कैन गो अप टू 365. फॉर एक्सटेंडिंग बिटवीन 180 टू 365 वी हैव सम कंडीशंस, बट आफ्टर 365 तो देयर इज नो क्वेश्चन. अब हुआ क्या? एक्सटेंड हो गया, 365 डेज गॉट ओवर. वंस 365 डेज गॉट ओवर, एओ स्टार्टेड रिकवरी. Assessee is like, sir, ये जो in between का time kill हुआ है, this time that we have lost, there is absolutely no fault of mine. Absolutely no fault of mine. The apex court said that the proviso would result in automatic vacation of stay upon 365 days, even if the appellate tribunal could not take up appeal for no fault of the assessee. अरे अगर ITAT ने hearing ही conduct नहीं किया, ITAT has not functioned only. And if we observe what happened last 1.5 years due to the pandemic, ITAT did not function only. अब time is going, whatever be the reason, once 365 days will get over, then what? AO will start recovery. So assessee will never be able to get genuine advantage of the extension of the stay period. So in short, after 365 days, नहीं तो क्या होगा? You know, supposingly ITAT has conducted hearing also. Pay attention. But department will not come for the hearing. They will ask for adjournment. Somehow or the other, they want to kill 365 days. Once 365 days get killed, thereafter they don't have to do anything. So listen, that is why Supreme Court said that any order of stay shall stand vacated after the expiry of the period mentioned only if the delay is attributable to the assessee. Then only you can invoke the recovery and tell us that the stay has expired. Otherwise, what will happen if after 365 it is compulsory expiry of stay? Then department will purposely kill time. Sometimes ITAT will not conduct the hearing. Assessee ka time is getting wasted and he is not getting any advantage. And thus, only if the fault is of the assessee, the extension beyond 365 days will be taken into consideration. Next, Supreme Court judgment again, 2021, Engineering Analysis Center of Excellence, P Limited. Would the amount paid by resident Indian end users or distributors to non-resident computer software manufacturers or suppliers? That means, who is the payer? Resident or distributor of software. To whom? To non-resident. And what is the non-resident doing? Manufacturing computer software. As consideration for the use, see, end user will be using and distributor will be doing resell. Distributor का work will be, distributor क्या करेगा? Resell करेगा. तो एक non-resident party है, ये कंप्यूटर का सॉफ्टवेयर बना के बेच रहा है इंडिया में. किसको? End user. What will end user do? LOL. Use. And what will the distributor do? Resell of the computer software through end user license agreement or distribution agreements be considered as payment of royalty for the use of copyright in the computer software, and if yes, is it going to be liable for TDS under section 195? Non-resident ka royalty income is taxable under 115A, we all know, 10% plus applicable surcharge and HEC, and the TDS corresponding will be deducted under 195. But we have purchased a software for the purpose of usage or for the purpose of distribution. So, will that distribution attract the section, and will that be treated as royalty, and will that be attracting TDS under 195? सबसे पहले तो Supreme Court observed the meaning of royalty where copyright is covered. So if you are using any copyright and making payment for that along with other things, so there literally artistic, scientific work, everything else including granting of license, copyright is covered, and this will also include transfer of all or any right for the use of computer software including granting of the license. And then they also went and read the DTAA with Singapore. Being a non-resident assessee, of course, the DTAA provisions will also be applicable. And are we also aware that for any assessee, the tax provision applicable will be normal tax or DTAA, whichever is beneficial. So, we go and read the definition of royalty, and here they again include copyright. Okay. The meaning of royalty in India's DTAA with other countries like Australia, Canada, France, Italy, USA, Netherlands, all these is similar if not identical. Means more or less it is same. It may not be word to word, but more or less it is going to be same. And the Supreme Court observed that following four categories of cases in which distribution agreements and end user agreements did not create any interest or right to such distributors or end users which would amount to the use of any copyright. What are the four cases in which copyright will not come into existence? Where computer software is purchased directly by end user resident from a foreign non-resident supplier or manufacturer, then it will not fall in copyright. Where resident Indian companies acting as distributors or resellers purchase computer software from foreign non-resident suppliers and then resell the same to resident Indians end users, then again it did not create any right which will amount to use of copyright. Where distributor happens to be a foreign non-resident vendor, so in our case the distributor is not the foreign non-resident vendor, and where computer software is affixed onto the hardware. So if you are basically selling hardware, you are buying laptops, and in the laptops the Windows is already installed, so the software is affixed in the hardware and sold as an integrated unit or equipment. In all the above cases, Supreme Court held that amount paid by resident Indian end users or distributor to non-resident or suppliers for the resale or use of the computer software through end user agreements or distribution is not royalty, is not going to be royalty, and thus the provisions in Income Tax Act which deal with royalty not being more beneficial to the assessee have no application, primarily because the tax provision applicable to any assessee will be the provision as per DTAA or the provision as per treaty, whichever is beneficial, Based on the treaty, if this is not royalty, then the provision of royalty will not get attracted, and consequently, no tax is required to be deducted at source under section 195. No TDS. No TDS to be deducted under section 195. Next, we have a Karnataka High Court judgment, Dr. Ranjan Pai. Can bonus shares received as shareholders be taxable under income from other sources based on the provisions of 56(2)(10)? Acha, by the way, when this doctor actually received the bonus shares, those days in income tax, the gift provision was 56(2)(10). This is a case law of some years ago. The transaction took place some years ago, and about 3-4 years ago, 56(2)(7) got replaced with 56(2)(10), and currently gift provisions of income tax are covered under 56(2)(10). The provision in which it is covered, section number is not relevant because that was also gift. This is also gift. They are almost identical with each other. The question is bonus share taxable as gift? See, bonus share is received without any consideration. If the market value is more than 50,000, assessing officer, look at how clever he is. Assessing officer बोलता है 50,000 से ज्यादा का share you are getting free, no? And anything received as gift free is going to be taxable. Anything received as gift is going to be taxable. Have we studied that? And thus he has attracted the provisions of gift over here. Okay. So Karnataka, see, अब ये तो obviously even if we do not discuss the case law, ये तो but obvious है that it is bonus shares. तो कल की डेट पे whenever he is going to sell these bonus shares, cost of acquisition we are going to take anyways zero, and indirectly the entire market value of the shares is anyways sooner or later going to be taxable. Anyways it is going to be taxable. That's not the point. What is the point? Point is, what was the discussion of Karnataka High Court? Issue of bonus shares by capitalization of reserves, of course, is reallocation of the companies. It is mere reallocation. There is no inflow of fresh funds in the company, or there is no increase in capital employed. Everything remains same. See, reserves and surplus, they already belong to the shareholder. Those reserves we are converting into share capital. Even if we today liquidate the company, the reserves that we are having with the company obviously will be distributed to the shareholder. So whether we keep them under reserves and distribute to shareholder, or we capitalize them, put them under capital and we distribute to the shareholder, ultimately the reserves have to be distributed to the shareholder only, no yaar. And if they have to be distributed to the shareholder only, there is no profit making that is going to take place anywhere, and thus any profit is not going to be adjusted anyways. When you get your bonus, so your reserves reduce, so little bit reduction in the intrinsic value of your original share will take place, and accordingly you are compensated by getting bonus. Effectively you have not earned any profit, so at the time of allotment of bonus there is not going to be any kind of taxable income. And the fourth case law and the last case law that we have, again Karnataka High Court 2021, corporation bank. Are the provisions of tax deduction at source TDS under 194H, matlab commission, attracted on payment made by assessee bank? Assessee is corporation bank, वो तो देख लिया हमने. For services rendered by NFS, a network of shared ATMs in India, are they going to be covered under commission? First of all, what is NFS? National Financial Switch. You as a student who has a bank account, who is using a debit cum ATM card and has ever withdrawn funds from an ATM, should have knowledge about what I am talking about. You can take up the debit card of any bank and walk into any ATM. You have ICICI bank account, you walk into the ATM of HDFC or Axis Bank or Bank of Baroda or Corporation Bank, you can just withdraw funds, because there is a network of ATMs and all the ATMs are internally computerized and linked with each other. The moment you enter your card in the ATM, irrespective of which company ka ATM it is, whether your bank or some other bank, you just enter your PIN, it accepts it, because there is an agency handling this database where all the database of the ATMs are handled, and all the banks together are paying some professional charge, some charges, some technical services, FTS, to that company. Okay, some charges are being paid. The question is, when a bank is paying money to this organization, NFS, National Financial Switch, will 194H get attracted? Is NFS acting as an agent? Really? Really? When does 194H come? When does it come? Whenever the relation between payer and payee is that of principal and agent, only then 194H ka TDS can get attracted. If the relationship is not of principal and agent, then there is no question of attracting the provisions of commission, that is 194H. Commission ka provision is not going to be attracted, and thus no need to deduct TDS by the bank. This was the fourth And the last case law that we have, that was our first part of the RTP lecture, case laws. We have two more parts, circulars and question answers. Let's then go to part 2 of the RTP, where part 2 of the RTP we have statutory update in the form of circulars. First circular is from a chapter called salaries. We all know that salary is that way not at all important as a chapter in CA final. Just that one amendment that has taken place, that contribution in excess of 7,50,000 to RPF, NPS or superannuation fund in excess of 750 is going to be taxable. So how to do that calculation, a small little example is given, and if you can just read through this example, that much is going to be, only this much, just read through, and of course the solutions to this solution to this example which is given, that much is going to be enough, because it is salary, not at all important. Let's go to the second circular, which is from profits and gains of business or profession. A slight revision in tax audit report is going to be allowed. Reason is, actually you understand the illogical system. After the amendment, do we know 30th September is the 44AB due date, and people who are covered under tax audit, 31st October has become the 139(1) due date. So audit has to be completed by this date, but return ka due date is this. And now the problem is, there are some deductions which will be allowed if you make payment up to the due date of return filing. For example, 43B, any kind of indirect tax, payment for usage of railway assets, bonus and commission to employees, interest from scheduled bank, public financial institution, these expenses are allowed only if paid. Till which date? Till 139(1) due date. So if I pay till 31st October, still I am going to be allowed the deduction. But the problem is that the auditor is required to mention in the audit report whether assessee has done compliance or non-compliance of 43B. And for audit report completion date is 30th September. So before this date, I have to write whether the assessee has paid before due date or not paid before due date. We have to write it before this date. How will we come to know due date is not expired? The due date of return is coming after the due date of audit. Then how can on this date I be sure as an auditor? How will I know whether the assessee will pay before 31st October or no? And consequently, the CBDT is now going to be allowing you that the audit report may be revised by the person by getting a revised audit report from a chartered accountant duly signed and verified. If there is payment after furnishing of report which necessitates the recalculation of your allowance or disallowance under section 40 or 43B, for that purpose you are going to be allowed to revise your audit report. That revision is going to be allowed. That's the next change. Next circular that we have, section 285BA. So we are talking about statement of financial transaction or reportable account. The information that will be given to income tax department about your financial transactions, in that some list is added. So now following people will have to report following transaction. These are the assessees responsible to give information, and this is the nature of transaction. So any recognized stock exchange, any depository like CDSL, any clearing corporation, any share transfer agent, all of them are required to give information about capital gain on transfer of listed securities or units of mutual fund. For example, if I am doing equity trading on Zerodha, NSC ka trading or BSC ka trading, so whatever is my capital gain on listed securities, it is going to be the duty of the stock exchange, the depository, to give information to the income tax department using my PAN. All the database of this market trading is kept on the basis of the PAN of the trader. So on that basis you have to give. And also mutual fund unit. For example, I have my mutual fund account with Karvi Consultant, which is now taken over by Prudent, another company. So this company Karvi, this company Prudent will give information to income tax department about my transaction. Next, any company declaring dividend, because dividend income has now become taxable. So we want to create a system wherein the shareholders return, the dividend income comes automatically by pre-fill button. So companies declaring or distributing dividend will have to mention that in that annual information statement in the form of statement of financial transaction, and automatically it will get reflected in the account of the assessee in the ITR pre-fill. And then in respect of your interest income, you may be earning interest from bank or post office or NBFC. Bank will include cooperative bank, cooperative bank, post office, NBFC. Bank, cooperative bank, post office, NBFC, if they are paying you interest income, it will be their duty to tell the income tax department whom did they pay how much interest, so that in the case of the receiver, income tax department can check in the return, they can add in the pre-fill button whether that much income is being taxed or declared by the assessee or no. That is what they have introduced here. And finally, one circular of international transaction with respect to transfer pricing, talking about section 92D, read with section 286. Section 286 is talking about country by country report, uniform transfer pricing documentation. And for applicability of uniform transfer pricing documentation, the criteria is that the last year group turnover should be exceeding 750 million euros. Multiple companies, total gross group turnover of last year has to be exceeding 750 million euros. So obviously, because that amount is given by OECD in euros, in foreign currency, based on the conversion rate, we have to see how much is it going to be in Indian currency. So earlier, based on the conversion rate, the threshold when 750 million euros was getting converted into rupees, it was coming to 5,500 crore. But now the same criteria, because it may be due to change in foreign exchange rate, now that criteria will change from 5,500 crore, it will become 6,400 crore. So itna cross hoga, then only 286 uniform transfer pricing documentation will be applicable. If this does not cross, so uniform transfer pricing documentation is not going to be applicable. That was your, I think, last circular that they have introduced, and Aadhaar PAN linking date has been continuously extended. After this also again it is extended, so you can ignore that. With this we get done with two parts of our RTP lecture. We get done with part 1 of our RTP lecture, that is the case laws, and part 2 of our RTP lecture, that is the circulars. And now we will go to the remaining part where we will be covering MCQs in detail and your subjective questions. We'll discuss, the solutions are already there, so we will just discuss them. When we talk about the MCQs, if you observe carefully, there are, I think, about there are a total of about 15 MCQs. In that, 10 are case study based. So you have got one big case scenario. On that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions are asked. Then you have got another big case scenario, and on that 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10 are asked. And thereafter, if you observe 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, they are all 16 onwards you have subjective questions. So 15 MCQs are there. They are all single standalone questions, not a case scenario, not a complete big story. So in order to save time in the RTP lecture, I don't want the recording to be a very big recording. What is required? See, of course, we are going to be doing first 5 questions, which are based on case study 1. A small requirement will be that you will pause the video right now. Pause the video, just read the case scenario once, because I am directly going, that does not make sense. See, it does not make sense. I read every line over here and I then translate. I am not a translator. ये काम मेरा नहीं, इंग्लिश में पढ़ के हिंदी में ट्रांसलेट करो. इस काम के लिए आप लोग मेरा लेक्चर नहीं देखते हो, मुझे पता है, तो मैं वो काम नहीं करूंगा. ये do one thing, you read this just to get an idea. So they have given you information about someone called Harshit, what he is doing, what transactions have taken place between Harshit and Pranav, and then other payments where Mr. Pranav has made some more payments to different people. All that is given, and thereafter about some 5 questions are asked to you. So what we will do is we will discuss the questions that makes more sense. One case study we will do like this, maybe other case study I will do in detail. So I will, take a glance through the question also, and then individually we will solve the 5 questions. If you have been watching my past MCQ lectures also, especially the case study part, especially the past RTP lectures, you will always observe that there is a trick which I give for solving case study question. This is always a big problem of students, that sir, case study is a very big question, and in that we are not able to score marks. Time बहुत consume हो जाता है sir. Huge time gets consumed. We are not able to score marks in that. And I have given tricks in the past. And in fact, those students who followed those tricks, go check why highest number of exemptions are coming. When last attempt, students did not even understand where the MCQ came from. Our students have scored more than 25 in MCQs. Where people are not able to score 15 also, our students have scored more than 25 in MCQs. Because they watched the lectures. That is a trick. The trick is, you do one thing. You directly, don't read the case study. Directly come and read the question. Question 1. Question 1 is asking something about TDS, TCS. So with respect to answering question 1, you just have to go and read only that much from the case scenario. You don't need to read everything together. All the information is not relevant together. There may be some information here, but everything cannot be relevant together. So read the question, directly this question, and then read the case study only to the extent it is required. That's a way in which you can save time. It is a little risky. Let me be giving you the disclaimer here. It is a little risky. Chances are that you may not be able to do it, in a more structured or proper. That is a little unstructured way of going, or should I say a little unprofessional way. But what I mean to say is, if it is able to save your time and get you the correct answers and get you the marks, then why not? At least try for some case studies. If you can do that, you will save a lot of time. You don't have to read everything. Okay. So I suggest that at least for the first question, you read the full case study, or wait, you don't read. I'll just take you quickly through what is given. Harshit is a resident Indian in retail business, Mumbai, and turnover for 1920 is 8 crore. Means this is last year. Don't forget that in your exam, don't forget those who are giving December 21 exam. This is your year. So your 1920 is last year. And he regularly purchases goods from another resident, Pranav, a wholesaler in Mumbai. Aggregate payment made by Harshit to Pranav. That means Harshit is buying. He is a retailer. He has to buy from whom? Pranav, the wholesaler, will sell it to retailer. That means Pranav will sell it to Harshit. During 2021, the total money paid was 80 lakh. Harshit during the year has paid 80 lakhs. Various dates are given. 20 lakh on 8th May, 25 lakh on 27th August, 20 lakh on 18th October, 15 lakh on 11th February. Fair enough. Pranav's turnover of 1920 last year was 11 crore. This gives me a hint, an indication that this is basically on the newly introduced TCS provision. If the turnover of the seller is more than 10 crore last year, and in the current year the sales is more than 50 lakh rupees, then on the excess we will be having TCS. You remember that? 0.1%. But of course, with the COVID relaxation, don't forget in TDS, TCS, we have the COVID relaxation, which is still applicable until your exam, up till your exam. Okay. Apart from that, so this is basically the dealing between Pranav and Harshit. Pranav paid rupees 5 lakh on 1st September 20 to Thomas Cook for a holiday package to Singapore for a week with his family comprising of wife and 2 children, being twins aged 22 years in the last week of September. I don't know what you guessed, but by reading the question, I have guessed one thing. This is on that newly introduced TCS provision. This was also the same thing. This is also the same thing. For tour packages, I think what you have studied is 5%. No monetary threshold, that 7 lakh facility is not going to be available. 7 lakh is when you pay to the authorized dealer under the liberalized remittance scheme. And 5% and no COVID relaxation. This was one provision where there is no COVID relaxation also. So your brain must be probably telling you, sir, 5 lakh direct, there will be TCS. Those 2 new provisions of TCS have been incorporated in income tax from 1st of October. And this transaction took place 1st September. Even if it is a foreign tour package. One wonders, sir, 2020 में कौन foreign घूमने को गया था? अरे वो सिंगापुर कोई नहीं गया था. I agree. International borders were closed. But you cannot tell that in the exam. So listen, September में there was no TCS. TCS got introduced from 1st October. चलो ठीक है. He also took an education loan of 15 lakh on 1st February 21 from State Bank of India, Madam Kama Road, Mumbai for his son's 2-year Master of Public Administration program in Columbia University, USA, and remitted the same to the same bank, which is an authorized dealer under the liberalized remittance scheme. So it becomes the second part of that Forex wala TCS. Is it an education loan? Yes. What was the system for education loan? First 7 lakh, no TCS, and on the excess over 7 lakh. So if this is 15, so I think the excess will come to the another 8 lakh rupees. That is going to be TCS. For education loan, it was 0.5%. For loan, it was 0.5%. And for other purposes, it was 5%, something like that. Yes or no? Okay. If it's a loan, then 0.5%. For other purposes, 5%. But up to 7 lakh, nothing. So for tour packages, no threshold. Directly we will apply 5%. But after October, so here it will be no TCS. And as far as the education loan is concerned, first you get threshold of 7 lakh. So first 7 lakh, nothing. Then the balance pay, because it is education loan, it will be 0.5%. If it was any other purpose, then first 7 lakh, nothing, and balance pay we will apply 5%. Let's see. And no COVID relaxation here. Okay. Let's see what else. For daughter's MBA in Iowa State University, remitted 12 lakh On 15th Feb 21, this was also 1st Feb, after October all this has happened. Only this happened before October. Out of his personal savings through Bank of India, Bandra branch, which is also an authorized dealer. So listen, what he gave here for son's education was a loan, and thus 0.5 ka facility will be available. But here, if it is personal savings, it is not remittance of loan, it is personal remittance, and personal remittances will directly attract 5%, will be having 5%. 5% is going to be the applicable rate of TCS. And Mr. Pranav also remitted 6 lakh on 28th March 21 out of his personal savings, again personal savings, under LRS, once again through Bank of India. So this first transaction of 12 lakh was done through Bank of India, and this second transaction of 6 lakh as gift to his sister residing in London was also done through Bank of India. So when we calculate the TCS in case of Bank of India, we will have to take the total 18 lakh to decide how much TCS will come. Please understand. Please understand. This is a different bank. This is State Bank of India, and this is education loan. So we will apply that 0.5% rule, and this is Bank of India. Both the transactions are Bank of India. So we will apply a different rule. But till now we only have the story. What are we now going to do once we have the story? On the basis of the above facts, choose the most appropriate answer to question 1 to 5 above. Are provisions of TDS, TCS under Income Tax Act 1961 attracted in respect of purchase sale transaction between Harshit and Pranav? If so, what is the quantum of tax deducted or collected for previous year 2021? See, next year for May 22, there is a newly introduced TDS section also, where buyer will deduct TDS of the seller. Buyer will deduct TDS. But you don't have to be confused. For you, the students giving in December 21, the rule is going to be very, very easy. It is really very, very easy for you. Seller's last year turnover, seller is Pranav. Last year's turnover has exceeded 10 crore, and current year, the moment you cross 50 lakh, then TCS is going to be attracted. Pranav will be collecting TCS from Harshit. So no TDS TCS provision. Wrong. Yes, Harshit has to deduct. No, Harshit does not have to deduct. That will happen from next year. That amendment is not applicable to you. This year, those students who are giving in December, Pranav has to collect on what amount? 30 lakh. See, pay attention. What are the total payments? 20, 25, 45, 45 and 25, 45 and 20, 65, and 65 and 15, 80 lakh rupees. And what is the first 50 lakh? Means what is the threshold? First 50 lakhs on which there will be nothing. So can I say the last 30 lakh? So 15 lakh on 11th February, and out of this 20 only 15, because first 50 lakh there will be no TCS. First 50 lakh there will be no TCS. So out of total 80, there will be TCS only on 30 lakh rupees. So Pranav has to collect TCS. And why 0.075? Because it is the post-COVID relaxation. Normally the TCS is 1%, but here COVID relaxation is applicable. So 0.075 of 30 lakh, not 0.1%, please. Not 0.1%, 0.075. Answer will be C. In case of failure to furnish pen, see, whenever a case study will come, now you know what is the good part about the case study. Out of 5 questions, 2 or maximum 3 will be very difficult, which will require you to do calculations, sums. 2 or 3 will be difficult, very difficult. And 2 at least will be so easy, you don't need to read anything. In case of failure to furnish pen, what would be the applicable TDS? See, TDS or TCS. We have already studied that it's a case of TCS. We have already answered the previous question. So in TCS, if the other person does not furnish pen, if the buyer does not furnish pen, what is the rule? Double rate or 5%, whichever is higher. Double rate or 5%, whichever is higher. Correct or no? So first of all, 0.1% is the normal rate. Pay attention. This relaxation is only due to COVID, and non-furnishing of pen ka restriction, that COVID ka relaxation is not available once there is non-furnishing on pen. So if you do double rate, you get 0.2, and if you do 5%, then 5% is higher. But somewhere in that section, newly introduced section, part 5 of TCS, section 206C, subsection 1H, it has been clearly stated that normally, if the buyer does not furnish pen, the TCS will become double or 5, whichever is higher. Double or 5, whichever is higher. That's the normal rule. But in this case, it is not going to be double or 5%. It is directly going to be 1%, because 1% is also 10 times of the normal rate. This is not the normal rate. This is only because of COVID relaxation. This is the normal rate. This is the normal rate. And if PAN is not furnished, this will become 0.1 की जगह पे it will become 1%. That is also still 10 times of the normal rate. So if PAN is not furnished, 1%. 3. Is Thomas Cook required to collect TCS on 5 lakh from Pranam for holiday package? And if so, what is the amount? Your brain probably will give you the answer. Sir, I think kitna amount of 5 lakh, no? Sir, no monetary threshold. So direct 5%, direct 5%, direct 5%. TCS provisions not attracted. And I already told you, this is why we discussed the case study. Already told you, 1st September, and thus TCS not applicable. TCS provisions got introduced from 1st October, so not applicable. What is the amount of tax to be collected from Pranav in respect of remittance of amount overseas for his son and daughter ka education? For son and daughter ka education, what is the amount to be collected? For son ka education and daughter ka education. See, let's talk about them one by one. In case of son, it was education loan. We already discussed education loan, 15 lakh. So first 7 ka threshold in education loan. In fact, anything other than the foreign tour package, first 7 lakh no TCS. So the remaining 8 lakh ke upar, we will be having 0.5%. That means, can I say, in case of son, it will be 8 lakh into 0.5% because it is education loan. Correct hai? So let's see. TCS of 0.5% on 8 lakh, 0.5 on 8 lakh is given. So this is wrong. 0.5% of 8 lakh. First of all, B and D automatically become wrong because on 8 lakh they are saying 5%. For education loan, it is not 5%, it is 0.5%. It is 0.5%. Are we clear on that? First of all, are we clear on that? Absolutely. Yes. And then as far as the daughter ka loan is concerned, go check how much is the daughter ka loan. 12 lakh rupees. Once again, 7 lakh will go away, so only 5 lakh will remain. Sir, why 7 lakh will go away? Because this State Bank of India, it's a different organization, and this is Bank of India. In case of these two transactions, pay attention, there should not be any confusion. This 15 lakh ka remittance was done through SBI, but this 12 lakh and this 6 lakh, this total 18 lakh was done through Bank of India. So on SBI, we gave 7 lakh ka threshold, remaining 8 lakh, we will have only 0.5. Why only 0.5? Because it is education loan. And here, we will give 7 lakh total from 18, we will give 7 lakh. No, yeah. So against 12 lakh, we give 7 lakh ka threshold and 5 lakh, here it will be 5%. Here it cannot be 0.5 because this is not education loan. This remittance is happening through his personal savings. Because it is happening through his personal savings, so on 5 lakh, you have to take 5%. 5 lakh ke upar 5%. See, let's do it one by one. SBI, total 15, 7 threshold, 8 lakh rupees remaining, 0.5 because it is education loan. And now come to Bank of India. Forget the sister wala transaction. First transaction is daughter transaction. Daughter का total है 12 lakh rupees. Again ये नया organization है. देखो SBI को अगर 7 का threshold दिया है, that's a different organization. This is a different organization. So 7 lakh का threshold and the remaining 5 lakh. ये education loan नहीं है, ये personal savings है. And thus it is going to be 5%. 5%. But with this, what has happened is SBI का और Bank of India का दोनों का 7 lakh का threshold has expired. So now if you do any further rupee of transaction, you won't get 7 lakh again. SBI, Bank of India, both were different. तो हमने दोनों को 7 lakh का threshold. But now if you do any transaction with both of them, both have expired their 7 lakh का threshold. So are TCS provisions applicable in respect of remittance of gift to sister? अब आपको लगेगा कि सर वो तो खाली 6 lakh है, लेकिन Bank of India का तो 7 lakh is already expired, no? And Bank of India का 7 lakh is already expired, तो पूरे के पूरे 6 lakh पे. And is it education loan? No. If it is not education loan, then it will be 5%. Only education loan के लिए we have the facility of 0.5. Otherwise, it will be 5%, and 6 lakh का 5% will give you the answer of 30,000. So the thing is that अगर आपने मेहनत करके 2 क्वेश्चन डिटेल में किया ना, तो 2 क्वेश्चन तो हमेशा इजी रहेगा. 5th may be big or small, difficult or easy, but too easy, too difficult is going to be the fixed system in any case study based question. Let's come to case scenario number 2. A Limited is an Indian company which has invested in shares of other Indian and foreign companies during 2021. A Limited received dividend from these companies as follows. So there is a company B Limited, Indian company, सी फॉरेन कंपनी, डी फॉरेन कंपनी एंड ई इंडियन। ये चारों में मेरा होल्डिंग कितना है? ए लिमिटेड का 10, 22, 30, 15। डेट ऑफ डिक्लेरेशन ऑफ डिविडेंड इज गिवन, दिस इज 2021, 2021, 2021, 2021 एंड डेट ऑफ डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन इज ऑल्सो ऑलमोस्ट इन द सेम फाइनेंशियल ईयर। व्हाट इज द अमाउंट ऑफ डिविडेंड दैट आई हैव रिसीव, मतलब बी ने मेरे को कितना दिया, सी ने, डी ने, ई ने, दिस इज द डिविडेंड एंड देयर इज सम इंटरेस्ट एक्सपेंडिचर दैट आई हैव इनकर्ड फॉर इन्वेस्टमेंट इन शेयर्स। इंटरेस्ट इज अलाउड। कुछ चीजें रिमाइंड कर दो। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, इंडियन कंपनी यूज्ड टू पे डीडीटी, तो शेयर होल्डर के लिए डिविडेंड एग्जाम्प्ट हो जाता था। दैट सिस्टम इज ओवर। दैट मींस कैन आई से डिविडेंड विल बी टैक्सेबल? दैट मींस वेदर इंडियन कंपनी, फॉरेन कंपनी, तो वैसे भी टैक्सेबल होता था। एवरीथिंग विल बी टैक्सेबल। दैट मींस कैन आई से ऑल द डिविडेंड इनकम विल बी टैक्सेबल? एंड आईएफओएस के चैप्टर में वी हैव स्टडीड एन अमेंडमेंट दैट डिविडेंड के सामने यू कैन टेक नाउ ओनली वन डिडक्शन, व्हिच इज द ओनली डिडक्शन? इंटरेस्ट, एंड दैट आल्सो मैक्सिमम 20%। तो ये जो भी आप डिडक्शन दोगे ना, द मैक्सिमम डिडक्शन दैट यू कैन गिव इज 20। और वो 20 ऐसा नहीं कि तुम टोटल मार के 20 लोगे, ऐसा नहीं होगा। 2 लाख का मैक्सिमम 20, तो ये 40। आई कैन क्लियरली सी 45 नहीं मिलेगा, यू विल गेट ओनली 40। 4 लाख का मैक्सिमम यू विल गेट 80। 6 लाख का पागल की तरह 130 या 120 दे मत देना। When you are holding 26% or more in a foreign company, chapter 12 special rates, 26% or more in a foreign company, so this will be taxable at a special rate of 15%। और जो भी special rate पे taxable होता है ना bro, then you don't get any deduction of expenses and here you will get I think again 20%। ये सब normal rate है, ये normal rate है तो 20% मिलेगा। normal 20%, normal तो you get 20%, I think 64। so you get 40,000 का deduction, 80,000 का deduction, 64 का deduction and no deduction because this dividend will be taxable at special rate। so interest will be allowed but it will be restricted to 20%। A Limited declared and distributed dividend of 6 lakh for 1920 in June 2020 and 7 lakh for 2021 in July। of course, तो मतलब लास्ट ईयर का डिविडेंड इस साल डिक्लेयर किया है और इस साल का डिविडेंड अगले साल डिक्लेयर करेंगे, लेकिन अगले साल जुलाई में कर दिया है, जुलाई में किया है, मतलब ऑफ कोर्स इट इज बिफोर द ड्यू डेट ऑफ रिटर्न फाइलिंग। मतलब लुसन, ये डिविडेंड है ए लिमिटेड का रिसीव्ड डिविडेंड और ये 13 लाख है ए लिमिटेड का पेड डिविडेंड। दिस इज रिसीव्ड डिविडेंड, दिस इज पेड डिविडेंड। इज दैट क्लियर? ये तो करंट ईयर में पे किया है और ये नेक्स्ट ईयर में, बट बिफोर द ड्यू डेट ऑफ द करंट ईयर। ये इंपॉर्टेंट है, काम आएगा। ओके, व्हाट एल्स? आकाश एंड आरव आर टू ब्रदर्स हु हैव इन्वेस्टेड इन शेयर्स ऑफ ए लिमिटेड। मतलब अब हमको ये कंपनी, सी दीज आर द कंपनीज इन विच ए लिमिटेड शेयर होल्डर है। अब ए लिमिटेड का शेयर होल्डर कौन है? आकाश एंड आरव, टू ब्रदर्स। बोथ ऑफ देम वर बोर्न इन इंडिया। मतलब बोथ आर पीआईओ एटलीस्ट फॉर नाउ। पेरेंट्स एंड ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स वर ऑल्सो बोर्न इन इंडिया। थैंक यू। आकाश इज एन इंडियन सिटीजन हु लिव्स इन हैदराबाद, एम्प्लॉयड विद अ लीडिंग टेक्सटाइल मैन्युफैक्चरिंग यूनिट एट अ सैलरी ऑफ 1 लाख पर। मतलब आकाश तो रेसिडेंट है, पक्का इंडिया में रहकर हैदराबाद में काम कर। ब्रदर आरव इज सेटल्ड इन कंट्री वाई सिंस द ईयर 2010। मतलब लास्ट 10 साल से वो बाहर है, तो पक्का इंडिया में आ ही नहीं रहे। सिटीजन ऑफ अ कंट्री वाई, अच्छा वहां पे सिटीजन भी बन गया, ही इज नॉट अ सिटीजन हियर। वहां पे सिटीजन बन गया तो यहां पे नहीं होगा। एंड इज पार्टनर इन अ सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलपमेंट फर्म इन कंट्री वाई। हिज शेयर ऑफ प्रॉफिट इन द कंट्री वाई फर्म, पार्टनर है ना वहां पे, इज CYD 1,20,000 which was credited to his bank account, उधर ही इसको मिला। एंड वैल्यू ऑफ 1 CYD में भी टेकन एज 25 रुपीज। तो आप मल्टीप्लाई कर सकते हो, आई थिंक कुछ आपको 30 लाख के आसपास मिलेगा। दैट्स हिज इनकम फ्रॉम पार्टनरशिप फर्म इन दैट कंट्री। He is not subject to income tax in country Y since share of profit is exempt in the hands of partners in country Y. But he visits India for 4 months in continuation every year. Oh, मतलब residential status is coming, I am sure. 4 months he visits. He earns interest of 14 lakh from FD with Bank of India. मतलब इंडिया के अंदर only income that he is earning. What is only Indian income? This 14 lakh. ये जो 1,20,000 into 25 ये किधर है? ये फॉरेन इनकम है। एंड माइंड यू दिस बिजनेस इज नॉट कंट्रोल्ड फ्रॉम इंडिया। तो वो जो नया रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस का अमेंडमेंट है कम नो, उसके लिए दिस इनकम विल बी इररिलेवेंट। आई कैन सी इनकम इज ओनली 14 लाख, लेस देन 15 लाख है, तो वो नया वाला प्रोविजन नहीं लगेगा। बट केयर, वेट एंड वॉच, लेट्स सी व्हाट क्वेश्चन क्या पूछा वो हमको पता ही नहीं था। डिटेल्स ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट इन शेयर्स ऑफ ए लिमिटेड बाय मिस्टर आकाश एंड आरव। मतलब इन्होंने ए लिमिटेड में कितना अक्वायर किया है? आकाश इज होल्डिंग 10% एंड आरव इज होल्डिंग 15%। सो व्हाट इज द अमाउंट ऑफ डिविडेंड दे आर गेटिंग? करंट ईयर के लिए 60,000 का डिविडेंड एंड एक्सपेंडिचर ऑफ 15, हमको पता है मैक्सिमम 20% मिलेगा। अच्छा, लास्ट ईयर तक तो ये डिविडेंड एग्जाम्प्ट होता था, तो डिविडेंड वाज नॉट कमिंग, नो क्वेश्चन ऑफ एक्सपेंस। नाउ डिविडेंड इज टैक्सेबल, उसके सामने एक्सपेंस अलाउड, ओनली इंटरेस्ट, दिस इज इंटरेस्ट ओनली, बट मैक्सिमम 20%। अरे पागल लोग, तुम ये डेटा हमको क्या देता है? यू हैव ब्रेन्स। जुलाई 21 इज 21-22, ये है ना मई 22 वालों के लिए टैक्सेबल है, यू आर दिसंबर 21, यू आर इंटरेस्टेड ओनली इन द ईयर 2021। अभी तुमको बोला ना प्रीवियस ईयर 2021, तो दैट इनकम वी डोंट हैव टू कंसीडर ओनली, ये तो नेक्स्ट ईयर का इनकम है ना ब्रो, दैट वी डोंट हैव टू कंसीडर। आरव के लिए 90,000, दिस विल ऑल्सो बी रेस्ट्रिक्टेड टू 20%, मतलब आकाश का इंटरेस्ट का डिडक्शन विल बी 12,000। देखो ओरल कैलकुलेशन इतना तो आप कर सकते हो यार, 60 का 20%, 12 का डिडक्शन मिलेगा, एंड आरव का 90 का 20%, 18 का। बट लिसन, अगर एसएससी रेसिडेंट है तो डिविडेंड इज टैक्सेबल एट नॉर्मल रेट्स, तो 60 विल बी टैक्सेबल एट नॉर्मल रेट्स, तो उसको 20% का 12,000 का डिडक्शन मिल जाएगा। आकाश तो रेसिडेंट है क्योंकि आकाश तो हैदराबाद में ओनली ही स्टेइंग नाउ। आरव वी डोंट नो व्हाट ही इज टिल नाउ, रेसिडेंट और नॉन रेसिडेंट, वी डोंट नो। अगर वो रेसिडेंट निकला तो डिविडेंड विल बी टैक्सेबल एट नॉर्मल रेट्स, तो 20% का डिडक्शन मिलेगा। अगर वो नॉन रेसिडेंट निकला ना ब्रो, if he is non-resident, then dividend will be taxable at 20%, and if the dividend is taxable at 20%, then in that case special rate लगता है 1158 के अंदर, then in that case he won't be getting any deduction। तो हमको wait and watch करना पड़ेगा। अभी तक we are only discussing the case study, we do not have any idea कि actual question क्या है। On the basis of the above facts, choose the most appropriate answer from question 6 to 10 on the basis of income tax, ignore the provisions of DTAA। Thank you। वैसे भी नहीं देगा तो हम इग्नोर ही करेगा। Okay, first, what is the amount of dividend income includable in the gross total income of A Limited for AY 21-22 under the provisions of Income Tax Act 1961? A Limited का dividend income, that means we are talking about these incomes। and GTI में पूछा, देखो अगर खाली dividend income पूछता ना तो we would have just taken the total। GTI मतलब you have to take your full IFOs, मतलब this income minus expense, this income minus expense, this income no expense, special rate, this income minus expense, and all these expenses we know 20%, मतलब income में you have to take total of all of this, expense में इसका 40 आएगा, 80 आएगा, 64 आएगा, और ये 6 लाख पूरा आएगा। Accordingly, what is dividend income? मैंने ना एक काम किया, मैंने आपके लिए डायरेक्टली पहले ही सॉल्व कर दिया, because I wanted the duration of this lecture to be on the lower side, तो इसलिए ये पहले ही सॉल्व कर दिया। आप साइमल्टेनियसली ऑब्जर्व करते जाना। बी लिमिटेड से कीप योर आरटीपी ओपन, 2 लाख का इंटरेस्ट, मैक्सिमम 20% डिडक्शन, सो 160। सी से 40 का इंटरेस्ट, मैक्सिमम 20%, सो 80। डी से फुल्ली टैक्सेबल बिकॉज 115 बीबीडी, सो नो डिडक्शन ऑफ एक्सपेंसेस, नो डिडक्शन ऑफ एक्सपेंसेस। ई का 320 अगेन 64 का डिडक्शन, सो 256। व्हेन यू विल ऐड ऑल ऑफ देम, you will get 13,36,000। all you are required to check is ऑप्शन में आपको 13,36,000 कहीं पर भी दिया हुआ है क्या? आई थिंक इट इज गिवन इन ऑप्शन डी। ऑफ कोर्स अदर परम्यूटेशंस अगर आप देखोगे तो वो क्या होगा, इफ यू जस्ट टेक अ टोटल ऑफ ऑल द इनकम्स तो ऐसा होगा, टोटल इनकम माइनस टोटल एक्सपेंस तो कैसा होगा, इफ जस्ट दिस मच क्लिक्स टू यू दैट भाई ये डिडक्शन नहीं मिलेगा बट यू स्टिल गिव दिस फुल एक्सपेंस का डिडक्शन, देन वन ऑफ द रॉन्ग आंसर यू विल गेट। सो द ओनली करेक्ट आंसर इज this। You can still take a screenshot once if you want, you can take a screenshot, this is going to be your solution of your question number 6। okay, चलो आगे चलते हैं। dividend income taxable पूछ, what is the deduction allowable under ATM to A Limited? what is ATM? dividend taxable income that has come, ये तो हमको पता चल गया। what is taxable dividend? see, ये होता है case study, that second answer is based on first answer, तो first answer कर लिया, second में time बच जाएगा। what is ATM? dividend income, how much is the dividend income taxable? 1336, और dividend declared in the current year plus up to due date of return filing। current year का dividend declare कितना है? 6 लाख। देखो आपको लगेगा कि नहीं सर ये तो लास्ट ईयर की ड्यू डेट के पहले है, मगर लास्ट ईयर कोई ATM था ही नहीं, ATM has come in the current year, तो दिस 6 लाख का वी हैव नेवर टेकन डिडक्शन, तो ये 6 लाख भी कंसीडर होगा इन द करंट ईयर। एंड ये 7 लाख भले परटेन करता है वी आर पेइंग इन द नेक्स्ट ईयर, भले वी आर पेइंग इन द नेक्स्ट ईयर, बट नेक्स्ट ईयर इफ वी आर पेइंग बिफोर द ड्यू डेट ऑफ रिटर्न फाइलिंग, then this 7 lakh will also be considered। accordingly the total dividend declared will be 13 lakh rupees। and what is ATM का डिडक्शन? dividend received or paid, मतलब dividend income और dividend paid कब तक? up to the due date of return filing, up to the due date of return filing। so current year का dividend you will take, and next year में वो जो जुलाई के अंदर तक हमने डिक्लेयर किया। देखो ऑफ कोर्स शेयर होल्डर विल गेट इट नेक्स्ट ईयर, तो आकाश आरव के लिए वो टैक्सेबल नेक्स्ट ईयर होगा। काइंडली डू नॉट मेक द मिस्टेक ऑफ मेकिंग देम पे टैक्स इन द करंट ईयर। दे विल नॉट पे टैक्स इन द करंट ईयर, लेकिन कंपनी विल बी एलिजिबल फॉर टेकिंग दिस benefit of 7 lakh. So dividend income is 1336, dividend declared is 13. Out of the two, whichever is lower, 13 lakh is going to be your answer. Is that understood? What is the tax liability rounded off of Mr. Akash for AY 21-22 under the provisions of income tax if he wishes to make maximum tax savings? देखो liability पूछा, मतलब एक बात तो पक्का है that you have to calculate NTTI and then you have to calculate tax. अब एनटीटीआई और टैक्स करना और बोला मैक्सिमम टैक्स सेविंग्स। आई डोंट नो वेदर दिस क्लिक्ड टू यू, दैट मींस यू हैव टू कैलकुलेट टैक्स एज पर ओल्ड रेजिम एंड टैक्स एज पर न्यू रेजिम, क्योंकि मैक्सिमम टैक्स सेविंग्स तो वैसे ही होगा ना विच एवर इज बेनिफिशियल। तो ऑफ कोर्स दिस कैन नॉट हैपन विदाउट कंप्यूटेशन ऑफ इनकम। आकाश का इनकम वैसे रफली मुझे याद है बिकॉज वी रेड द केस स्टडी, वंस ही हैज गॉट सैलरी इनकम 1 लाख पर मंथ एंड आई थिंक अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट उसका खाली डिविडेंड इनकम है, और वो भी मैंने आपको बोल दिया दैट दिस डिविडेंड इनकम यू विल टेक ओनली ऑफ दिस ईयर करंट ईयर। ये जो जुलाई 21 में है वो तो नेक्स्ट ईयर आएगा ना यार। जुलाई 21 इज 21-22 एंड दे आर आस्किंग फॉर AY 21-22 मतलब PY 2021। तो वो जो जुलाई 21 का डिविडेंड है दैट विल नॉट बी टेकन, ओनली सैलरी एंड जो फर्स्ट डिविडेंड है 60,000 का। एज आई टोल्ड यू आई हैव ऑलरेडी डन द कंप्यूटेशन ऑफ आकाश, इनफैक्ट आरव ऑल्सो आई हैव डन, बट आकाश सैलरी गिवन टू यू 1 लाख पर मंथ 12 लाख, ये भूल नहीं जाना। स्टैंडर्ड डिडक्शन, लिसन ओल्ड न्यू बोथ नो, तो ओल्ड में स्टैंडर्ड डिडक्शन वी विल टेक एंड देन सॉल्व, एंड न्यू में वी विल फोरगो एंड देन सॉल्व। तो 1150 विल बी सैलरी इनकम एंड डिविडेंड का 60, मैक्सिमम 12,000 बिकॉज 20% से ज्यादा नहीं मिलता है। कंटिन्यूसली वी आर डिस्कसिंग 1150 प्लस 48 1198 के ऊपर ओल्ड रेजिम में अगर आप करोगे तो 1,98,000 का 30% प्लस अप टू 10 लाख वी हैव 1,12,500, दैट्स योर बेसिक टैक्स, दैट्स योर सेस एंड दैट्स योर टोटल टैक्स। तो ओल्ड रेजिम के हिसाब से वी आर गेटिंग टैक्स ऑफ 1,78,776। यही अगर न्यू की बात करें, व्हाट इज द ओनली चेंज इन न्यू रेजिम में, दिस इनकम विल रिमेन सेम, क्योंकि डिविडेंड इनकम में एक्सपेंस का डिडक्शन तो मिलेगा एंड यहां पे ओनली दिस स्टैंडर्ड डिडक्शन विल गो अवे, दैट मींस ओनली दिस 50 विल गो अवे, दैट मींस द ओनली चेंज विल बी 50,000 रुपीज। मतलब 1198 प्लस 50 व्हाट विल बी योर इनकम एज पर न्यू रेजिम 1248, एंड 1248 के ऊपर अगर आपने नया वाला स्लैब्स लगाया, नया वाला 5%, 10%, 15%, 20% ऑल्सो इज गोइंग टू कम ओवर ईयर। 1250 क्रॉस हो जाता तो 25% भी आता, एंड वी नो 15 लाख के बाद में 30% ऑल्सो विल कम। यू अप्लाई द न्यू स्लैब्स ऑन 1248। 1248 कैसे मिला? इनकम एज पर ओल्ड रेजिम 1198, उसमें खाली स्टैंडर्ड डिडक्शन डिसअलाउड, आउट ऑफ द बेनिफिट्स टू बी फोरगोन ओनली स्टैंडर्ड डिडक्शन। तो 124,600 प्लस 4% करोगे तो 129,584। तो ओल्ड के हिसाब से 178,776 आ रहा है, न्यू के हिसाब से 129,584 आ रहा है। ऑफ कोर्स क्वेश्चन हैज टोल्ड यू कि यू हैव टू गिव मैक्सिमम टैक्स बेनिफिट, तो अगर मैक्सिमम टैक्स बेनिफिट देने का बोला तो ऑफ कोर्स लोअर ऑफ द टू 129,584, और आपको राउंडेड ऑफ पहले ही बोल दिया तो 129,580 is of course going to be, I think 178,776 is our second answer no, 178,776। तो जो लोग ओल्ड रेजिम में करके टैक्स लायबिलिटी छोड़ देंगे ना, उनको ये वाला आंसर मिलेगा, दैट्स रॉन्ग, वी हैव टू डू मैक्सिमम टैक्स सेविंग्स, तो विच एवर इज लोअर होगा। इज दैट क्लियर? व्हाट इज द रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस ऑफ मिस्टर आरव? देखो आकाश का वाई दे विल आस्क यू, बोलता है ना आकाश लिव्स इन हैदराबाद, देन वाई दे विल आस्क, ऑफ कोर्स आकाश इज रेसिडेंट, वी हैव कैलकुलेटेड ओनली द टैक्स आल्सो, यू नो रेसिडेंट के हिसाब से वी हैव नॉट बॉदर्ड। वैसे ओल्ड रेजिम न्यू रेजिम में रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस ऑफ इंडिविजुअल डजंट मैटर, बट आकाश एनीवेज लिव्स इन हैदराबाद, दे विल नॉट आस्क यू ओनली। आरव का कैसा है सिस्टम? देखो आरव इज वर्किंग इन कंट्री वाई, ही इज कमिंग फॉर 4 months, 4 months मतलब कैन वी से अबाउट 120 days तो हो गया, 30 का भी एवरेज काउंट करोगे तो 120, वो 4 months में दे हैव नॉट गिवन विच मंथ्स, जुलाई अगस्त, और शायद समझ लो कि 2 महीना 31 days वाला भी है, आउट ऑफ 4 months 2 months are 31 days, that means it will be 122 or 123 days। what are the steps of deciding residential status? करते हैं रिविजन। फर्स्ट 182 days इन द करंट ईयर, वो तो नहीं हो रहा है, 122 होगा, 23, 124 मैक्सिमम, वो तो नहीं हो रहा है, करेक्ट। 60 इन द करंट ईयर, 365 इन द लास्ट 4 years, एवरी ईयर ही इज कमिंग फॉर 120 days, तो तो आई थिंक 6365 हो रहा है, क्योंकि करंट ईयर 120 होगा तो 4 इयर्स का 480 भी होगा. बट he has gone abroad, okay, and for the purpose of earning, so that 6365 का condition is not going to be applicable to him. उसके अंदर okay, 120 वाला condition could have probably applied, लेकिन 120 वाला condition के लिए income has to exceed 15 lakh rupees. Which income? Indian income. That's 14 lakh. And I think dividend भी है, तो 1490 हो गया ना bro. नेक्स्ट ईयर का डिविडेंड यू कैनॉट टेक यार, करंट ईयर का यू विल टेक. नो, करंट ईयर का डिविडेंड इनकम इज व्हाट? 90,000. सो व्हाट इज द टोटल इंडियन इनकम? 1490. और जो फॉरेन इनकम है, अगर कंट्रोल्ड फ्रॉम इंडिया होता ना, तो वी वुड हैव टेकन दिस 1,20,000 into 25. बट दिस वी कैनॉट टेक. सो इंडियन इनकम इज ओनली 1490, लेस देन 15 lakh, तो 120 days क्राइटेरिया ऑल्सो नॉट एप्लीकेबल. And same 15 lakh criteria is applicable for that also. If you are not a resident of any other country, you are a resident of India. But 15 lakh is not cross and plus. That criteria, not a resident anywhere, then you are resident in India, is applicable only for Indian citizen. He is country by का citizen. तो ना 182 हो रहा है, 63, 65 not applicable, 125, 120 days वाला amendment not applicable, not a resident anywhere else not applicable. He is not a resident in any of the criteria given, and accordingly, the residential status of Mr. Arav is going to be non-resident. Arav is a non-resident because he is not fulfilling any of the conditions. Is that clear? And then finally, question number 10. This time they are asking you the tax liability of Arav rounded off under the income tax provisions if he wishes to maximize his tax savings. Once again, Arav is asking for maximum tax savings. So now listen. आकाश के केस में we did old regime, income was 11,98,000. Then we did new regime, income was 12,48,000. Were the two income figures different? Is my question to you. Were the two income figures different? So we have to solve old and new both, because the two income figures were different. If you observe Arav का case, first of all he is non-resident. Once he is non-resident, इसका foreign partnership का income तो won't be considered. The only two incomes that will be considered for Arav, एक तो ये 14 lakh का बैंक इंटरेस्ट विल बी कंसिडर्ड, एंड सेकंड ये 90,000 का डिविडेंड इनकम. ओनली टू इनकम्स दैट विल बी कंसिडर्ड फॉर आरव विल बी 14 lakh, एंड दैट इज आल्सो एफडी. सो देयर इज नो 80 टीटीए आल्सो, नहीं तो फिर डिफरेंस हो जाता ओल्ड रेजिम न्यू रेजिम. एफडी इंटरेस्ट है, एंड ही इज नॉट अ सीनियर सिटीजन. ऐसा कुछ बोला नहीं है, ही इज अ सीनियर सिटीजन. ओके, तो 1490 is his only income. Now please use your brain and understand whether old regime or new regime, old regime or new regime, old regime or new regime, income is same. And if income is same, तो फिर हमेशा ना न्यू वाला रेट बेटर रहेगा. याद रखना ये रूल. इफ द इनकम एज पर ओल्ड रेजिम एंड न्यू रेजिम आर सेम, तो न्यू ही बेटर रहेगा, क्योंकि न्यू में रेट ऑफ टैक्स कम किया ना. तो न्यू रेजिम के हिसाब से वी हैव टू कैलकुलेट. फॉरेन इनकम तो वी डोंट हैव टू टेक, ही इज अ नॉन रेजिडेंट. इंडियन इनकम में वी हैव ओनली 14 lakh. And now mitro, do you realize he is a non-resident? Do you realize he is a non-resident? If he is a non-resident, do you realize that the dividend income of 90 will be taxable at a special rate? And if this dividend income of 90 will be taxable at a special rate, तो ये 20,000 का आपको डिडक्शन नहीं मिलेगा. You will not be getting the deduction because special rate, no deduction. So what is going to be his tax liability rounded off, assuming he wants to do maximum savings? Let's see, we have the calculation for you in respect of question number 10. Also, FD interest is 14 lakh, dividend is 90,000, no deduction of expense. Sir, why no deduction of expense? Because special rate पे taxable होगा इसलिए. So we'll directly calculate tax as per new regime. 90,000 will be taxable at 20%, 115 and non-resident dividend income, and 14 lakh will be taxable at 115 BAC. We are directly taking new, क्योंकि old लोगे तो टैक्स ज्यादा ही आने वाला है. There is no change, no. अगर कोई 80 TTA का डिडक्शन होता या कोई स्टैंडर्ड डिडक्शन होता जैसे आकाश का था, then we have to calculate both. If the income is same, then new is beneficial. No need to calculate. तो इसका 18 और इसका 160 to 500 आप जब सॉल्व करके देखोगे based on slabs, you will get this. Basic tax will be 1,80,500. उसके ऊपर सेस ऐड करोगे तो you will get 187,720. 187 720 is going to be your answer, and 187 720 is given in your option C. 187 720 is going to be your taxable amount. Clear hai? Now then, we are done with our case study based questions. So the other questions are standalone single questions. So very easily you will understand. During the financial year 2021, the following income accrues or arises to a specified fund. Capital gain on transfer of rupee denominated bonds of NTPC Limited, an Indian company, transferred in September 2020 through international exchange in GIFT City. So that is IFSC, international exchange, IFSC पे transfer किया. Rupee denominated bonds transferred on IFSC, capital gain earned on IFSC, and capital gain earned on IFSC on rupee denominated bonds, section 10(4)(d). We know it is going to be exempt, but let us see what the question is. Question क्या पूछता है? We will have to wait and watch. Interest on debenture issued by PQR Incorporation, a company whose poem is outside India. Assume that the income does not otherwise accrue or arise in India. Okay, so specified fund is also earning interest income. Capital gain on transfer of shares of MNO Limited, an Indian company. Capital gain on transfer of debentures of MNO Limited. And income under PGBP of a securitization trust. These are the 5 incomes. Kiska? Specified funds. Which of the income referred above, when computed in prescribed manner, would be exempt in the hands of the fund, assuming that the same are attributable to units held by non-resident. So, वो 10(4)(d) का जो new provision आया, which of the above incomes are going to be exempt is all you are required to say. कौन सा income इसमें exempt होगा? देखो, specified fund है, तो अगर IFSC पे trading करेगा, this income is going to be exempt. This income is going to be exempt. Specified fund है, income outside India, this income is also going to be exempt. ये भी आपका exempt रहने वाला है. Any transfer of debentures, this is also going to be exempt. और आपका PGBP में क्या होता है? Securitization trust will have the burden of paying tax, and therefore this is also going to be exempt. Accordingly, 1, 2, 4 and 5. 1, 2, 4 and 5 are going to be exempt, and if 1, 2, 4 and 5 are exempt, 3 is the only income taxable. We have to identify which of the following incomes are exempt. जिसमें 1, 2, 4, 5 दिया है, that is going to be your answer. 1, 2, 4, 5 will be exempt. Question number 12. During the previous year 2021, HelpAge, a charitable trust, made voluntary contributions not being corpus donations. किसको contribute किया? Another charitable trust registered under 12AA out of current year income derived from property held under trust. Educational institution which is registered under 1023C out of again current year income, and another charitable trust under 12AA out of accumulated income. Which of the above voluntary contributions are permitted as application of income for charitable purposes? When you contribute to other charitable trust not being corpus, mandatory and not being corpus, then only it will be allowed. But that contribution has to be out of your current year income, not out of accumulation. So this is out of current year, allowed. This is also registered trust out of current year, allowed. But this is out of accumulation, so not allowed. So only 1 and 2 will be allowed. Accordingly, C will be your answer. What would be your answer in question 12 at the voluntary contributions had been in the form of corpus? Whenever we give corpus donation to other trust, then nothing is going to be allowed. It has to be other than corpus, and it has to be out of your current year income. So corpus, nothing allowed. Question number 14. A real estate investment trust REIT receives dividend of 8 lakh in Feb 21 from A Limited special purpose vehicle. एक बार याद दिला दूं dividend का treatment. If it is non-SPV, then REIT will pay tax at MMR. If it is SPV, REIT will not pay tax. Unit holder will pay tax. Unit holder. But unit holder will pay tax only if the SPV has opted for new regime. तो अगर SPV old regime में तो unit holder will also not pay tax. मतलब REIT तो किसी भी कीमत पे REIT will not pay tax under any circumstance because it is SPV dividend. SPV in which we hold 80. More than 50 means 80%. REIT will not pay tax under any circumstance. Unit holder will pay tax, but only if SPV has opted for new regime. If SPV is in old regime, then even unit holder does not have to pay tax. REIT distributes dividend to unit holders in March 21. Mr. X is a resident holding 5% and Y is a non-resident holding 10. X is a resident 5%, Y is non-resident 10. What would be the tax consequence in the hands of REIT and its unit holder? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Mitro, I hope you realize these are not your options. Option ये है which of the above statements are correct, and some permutations are given 1 4 7 3 5 10 3 6 9 2 5 8. Some permutations are given. Are you following? You just have to identify which are correct statements. REIT enjoys pass-through statement only if A Limited does not opt for 115BAA. Right now I told you, SPV dividend will be taxable for unit holder or not taxable for unit holder based on SPV has taken old regime or new regime. But for REIT, always exempt, always exempt, always exempt. मतलब wrong statement. So any question where it any option where 1 is there, वो तो option cancel हो गया. 1 है वो option cancel हो गया. 1 is there only in it. चलो ठीक है. REIT enjoys pass through in respect of dividend only if A Limited opts for. अरे भाई साहब, this is also wrong because REIT के लिए SPV dividend is exempt. When is the SPV dividend exempt? Whether the SPV takes old or new regime, old regime or new regime, REIT के लिए exempt. Unit holder के लिए taxable or not taxable based on old regime or new regime. That means second statement is also wrong. तो second कोई ऑप्शन में है, 2 है कोई ऑप्शन में. चलो, this also cut. मतलब 2 ऑप्शन तो चला. See how easy we are making it. REIT enjoys pass through irrespective of whether SPV opts or not. This is correct. तो 3 किस में है? B में भी है, C में भी है. So we still don't have our answer. In case where dividend income is taxable in REIT, same would be subjected to MMR. Rubbish. अभी तो बोला it is not taxable only. It is not taxable. If at all it will be taxable, it will be taxable for. If at all taxable, it will be taxable for unit holder. तो REIT के लिए तो नहीं होने वाला है, तो 4 is also wrong. 4 है किसी में? 4 वाला ऑलरेडी कट हो गया. अरे यार जल्दी से दो ना कट वाला. Dividend is exempt in the hands of X and Y only if A Limited opts for 115BAA. Very tricky. If A Limited opts for 115BAA, मतलब old regime or new regime? New regime. And अगर new regime लिया तो unit holder के लिए it will be taxable. In fact, if it does not opt for BAA, that मतलब SPV goes in old regime, तो unit holder will get exemption. But if it opts for the new regime, तो unit holder को exemption नहीं मिलेगा, unit holder के लिए taxable. 5 is wrong. मतलब ये भी wrong. मतलब अगर A, B और D कट गया है तो मेरा कॉमन सेंस तो यही बोलता है that C has to be the correct answer. अब C के अंदर ऑप्शन क्या क्या दिया? 3, 6, 9. देख लेते हैं 3, 6, 9 are right or no. Dividend is exempt for X and Y only if A Limited does not opt for one. बराबर है ना? Does not opt for new regime मतलब A Limited will be in old, और old में रहेगा तो यूनिट होल्डर को exemption मिलेगा. मतलब ये बात पक्की है. 3, 6, 9 मेरा आंसर है. मेरे को मेरा फाइनल आंसर भी मिल गया. If you have brains and common sense, you should stop the question here itself. You've got your answer. एक्सप्लेनेशन नहीं देना है किसी को, एमसीक्यू है ये. बट ठीक है, फटाफट देख लेते हैं. इज 7, 8, 10 पक्का रॉन्ग? एग्जाम फॉर एक्स एंड वाई इररिस्पेक्टिव? नो प्लीज. एग्जाम फॉर एक्स एंड वाई ओनली इफ दे गो इन, इफ द एसपीवी गोज इन ओल्ड रेजिम. न्यू रेजिम होएगा तो ये रॉन्ग ही है वैसे भी. टैक्स इज डिडक्टेबल बाय आरईआईटी ऑन डिविडेंड टू एक्स एंड वाई 10% ऑन व्हेन इट इज टैक्सेबल? नो नो नो. टैक्स इज डिडक्टेबल बाय एक्स बाय आरईआईटी ऑन एक्स एंड वाई 10%. आपको लग रहा होगा हाँ सर रेसिडेंट का 10 एंड नॉन रेसिडेंट के लिए भी स्पेशल रेट 10. बट द ट्रूथ इज दैट रेसिडेंट को जब भी हम डिविडेंड डिक्लेयर करेंगे तो वी हैव गॉट अ कोविड रिलैक्सेशन इन प्लेस ना. तो वो कोविड रिलैक्सेशन की वजह से एक्स का टीडीएस विल बी 7.5 बट वाई इज नॉन रेसिडेंट, इसका कोविड रिलैक्सेशन नहीं होगा. तो दिस इज द राइट. वैसे भी वी नो 369 इज राइट. वी हैव ऑलरेडी सिलेक्टेड अवर आंसर आल्सो. वी आर डूइंग टाइम पास. बहुत टाइम है हमारे पास. एंड ऑफ कोर्स दोनों का 7.5 इज आल्सो रॉन्ग. 369 इज करेक्ट. हम लोगों ने ऑलरेडी मार्क कर दी. ओके. 15. A Limited is a Singapore company whose POEM is in Singapore, foreign company, which owns operates electronic platform for provision of services. अच्छा, मतलब ये नया वाला TDS अगेन ई कॉमर्स, नॉन रेसिडेंट वाला ई कॉमर्स, न्यू वाला इक्वलाइजेशन लेवी 2% वाला. B Limited is a Malaysian company whose POEM is in Malaysia, which provides online advertisement services. The gross receipt of such services may be taken as 3 crore for both A Limited and B. मतलब A Limited और B Limited का टोटल कितना है इंडिया में? ग्रॉस रिसीट 3 crore. Okay. A Limited is the owner of electronic platform and B Limited is providing advertisement services. A Limited does not have a branch. मतलब A Limited is non-resident, no PE in India, but B Limited has a branch in India and the online services are connected with that branch. मतलब इसका PE है. मतलब एक बात तो पक्का है कि B Limited पे इक्वलाइजेशन लेवी will not come because इक्वलाइजेशन लेवी का कंडीशन नॉन रेसिडेंट, no permanent establishment in India. तो A Limited does not have PE. It will fall in equalization levy. B Limited has PE. It won't fall. And अब now we have to focus only on A Limited. और ए लिमिटेड इलेक्ट्रॉनिक प्लेटफॉर्म है, देखो एडवर्टीजमेंट सर्विसेज होती ना तो ग्रेटर देन 1 लाख एंड 6% इज द एप्लीकेबिलिटी, बट दिस इज इलेक्ट्रॉनिक प्लेटफॉर्म, तो 2 करोड़ और मोर एंड 2% इज द आंसर। बट देखते हैं आगे क्या। मिस्टर एक्स, अ सिटीजन एंड रेजिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया, हैड अवेल्ड सर्विसेज फ्रॉम ए एंड बी in September 20 for purpose of business in India, and the amount payable to A Limited and B Limited is 5 lakh and 12 lakh respectively. Would equalization levy be attracted? B Limited का नहीं होगा, why? ये main condition violate हो गया। B Limited has P, so no equalization levy, normal 195 का TDS होगा, तो ये तो चला गया। And what about this 5 lakh? C, gross receipt of the e-commerce platform owner is 2 crore or more. Once it is 2 crore or more, अपना वाला जो पेमेंट है, even if it is less, if the total is 2 crore or more, then 2% will be attracted. So both cases, wrong answer. 2% for A Limited in respect of consideration received from Mr. X. This apparently looks like the right answer to me, this option B. 6% for X and B Limited, चलो ये wrong हो गया, and no equalization levy also wrong हो गया, मतलब I am right. This is only the right answer, that is 2% equalization levy is going to get attracted. Have we understood? तो ये था आपका MCQs जिसके ऊपर we had to do a detailed discussion, and now I will quickly take you through the other remaining questions that are there. Subjective वाले question है, मैं डिटेल में solving वाला part नहीं करूंगा, I will just discuss. X Limited is an Indian company, generation of electricity का बोला है, company was set up in 2018 and it had employed 500 new employees. So 18, 19, 19, 20, 20, 21. वी आर इन द थर्ड ईयर। अगर आप न्यू एम्प्लॉइज रखते हो तो उसका जो 30% ऑफ एडिशनल एम्प्लॉय कॉस्ट है 3 साल तक मिलता है, तो इस साल भी मिलेगा। द इमोल्यूमेंट्स ऑफ दीज एम्प्लॉइज आर पेड थ्रू ईसीएस बैंक, मतलब दैट कंडीशन इज सेटिस्फाइड। 18,000 पर मंथ फॉर 150, 500 में से 150 एम्प्लॉइज का 18,000 है, 22,000 फॉर 150 तो 300 हो गए, एंड 26,000 फॉर 200, मतलब ये 25,000 से ज्यादा है, तो इसका 80 डबल जे डबल ए नहीं। On 28 September 19, it had exercised option for depreciation on WDV method on block of assets for AY 1920. Turnover for 1819, 1920 is 402 and 249 crore respectively. I think this will help you to decide the rate of tax. On 11020, company installed new plant and machinery of 9 crore and put to use immediately. So this will help you in computation of additional depreciation. Company has received dividend of 60 lakh from other domestic companies during 2021. तो अगर कोई 80 M का, हाँ बोला भी है, out of this they have distributed 72. Mind you, even if the company goes in new regime, 80 डबल जे डबल है जो नए लोगों को नौकरी देने का डिडक्शन है, 80 M जो डिविडेंड का डिडक्शन है, और 80 LA जो IFSC का है, ये 3 न्यू रेजिम में भी मिलता है। सो दिस डेटा वाज अबाउट 80 डबल जे डबल है, दिस डेटा इज अबाउट 80 M। इतना बोल सकता हूं, वेदर ओल्ड रेजिम और न्यू रेजिम, ओल्ड रेजिम और न्यू रेजिम, ओल्ड रेजिम और न्यू रेजिम, ये दोनों तो डिडक्शन आपको मिलेगा। ओके, दैट वाज अबाउट X. Y Limited is an Indian company set up on 1st October 20 for printing of books. Printing of books is manufactured for the purpose of additional depreciation, but it is not manufactured for the purpose of 115BAB. मतलब ये कंपनी को 115BAB नहीं मिलेगा because उसमें printing is excluded, but additional depreciation मिलेगा। BAB नहीं भी मिलेगा ना तो भी BAA मिल सकता है। BAA का conditions are only what? Domestic company before the due date of return filing, once exercise cannot change, leave your tax benefits. तो ये कंपनी भी BAA में आएगी because BAB में printing of books is excluded. अगर आपको याद होगा तो माइनिंग, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग ऑफ सॉफ्टवेयर, मार्बल ब्लॉक्स इनटू स्लैब्स, ऐसा करके आपको कुछ सिखाया, दोस बिजनेसेस आर एक्सक्लूडेड। इट इंस्टॉल न्यू प्लांट एंड मशीनरी ऑफ 2 करोड़, एडिशनल डेप्रिसिएशन विल बी अवेलेबल बिकॉज मैन्युफैक्चर फॉर एडिशनल डेप्रिसिएशन में प्रिंटिंग ऑफ बुक्स आता है। इस प्रिंटिंग ऑफ बुक्स मैन्युफैक्चर फॉर एडिशनल डेप्रिसिएशन? यस, बट फॉर BAB no. It employed 200 new employees on the said date at 25,000 per month. Their emoluments were paid by account pay check. The gross total income of AY 21-22 computed under the special provision, मतलब न्यू रेजिम के हिसाब से the gross total income is GTI, हाँ ब्रो, GTI है 6.6 करोड़ and 1 crore, and both of them are subject to tax audit. Question 1, compute tax liability of X and Y assuming that they avail the beneficial provisions of this, मतलब 115BAA के हिसाब से compute the tax, BAA के हिसाब से। Next, compute the total income of X and Y under regular provision. तो ये कुछ डिडक्शन लिया, खाली एडिशनल डेप्रिसिएशन छोड़ना पड़ेगा because 80 double J double A and 80 M are allowed even in new regime. So if at all you have taken any additional depreciation, that much you will have to forego when you are here in this regime, and that means जब आप old regime के हिसाब से करोगे, take this income. This is income as per new regime. इस income में से just minus additional depreciation. क्योंकि 80 डबल जे डबल ए और 80 एम, तो ये वाली इनकम में भी मिल लेगा आपको, यहां पे भी मिल जाएगा। तो यहां पे देखो आपको क्या करना होगा, दिस इज जीटीआई एज पर न्यू रेजिम। फ्रॉम दिस जीटीआई वी विल टेक चैप्टर 6 से डिडक्शंस व्हिच आर अवेलेबल इन न्यू रेजिम, 80 एम एंड 80 डबल जे डबल ए, एंड वी विल गेट टैक्सेबल इनकम एज पर न्यू रेजिम। टैक्सेबल इनकम एज पर न्यू रेजिम के हिसाब से न्यू के रेट्स 25.168 ऑल इंक्लूसिव, और फिर उस एनटीटीआई में गिव फर्दर डिडक्शन ऑफ एडिशनल डेप्रिसिएशन, जो भी कंपनी एलिजिबल है उसको, और वो वाली आपकी इनकम हो जाएगी एज पर ओल्ड रेजिम, और उसके हिसाब से यू विल कैलकुलेट ओल्ड रेजिम का टैक्स। और ओल्ड रेजिम का टैक्स को करने के लिए आपको टर्नओवर दिया हुआ है, पास्ट ईयर्स का टर्नओवर हैज बीन गिवन टू यू। एग्जामिन वेदर इट विल बी बेनिफिशियल फॉर एक्स लिमिटेड टू ऑप्ट फॉर स्पेशल प्रोविजंस। फॉर दिस पर्पस यू मे अज्यूम दैट बुक प्रॉफिट इज ऑल्सो गिवन। देखो एक्स लिमिटेड के लिए पूछा है, ये वाई के लिए नहीं पूछा है। एक्स के लिए यू हैव टू डिसाइड व्हाट इज बेटर, ओल्ड और न्यू। अगर आप न्यू में जाते हो, न्यू का तो इनकम ऑलरेडी दिया हुआ है, खाली टेक द अवेलेबल चैप्टर 6A बिकॉज दिस इज जीटीआई। टेक द अवेलेबल चैप्टर 6A, कैलकुलेट द टैक्स, एंड फिर एडिशनल डेप्रिसिएशन सब्ट्रैक्ट करोगे तो यू विल गेट इनकम एज पर ओल्ड रेजिम। उस इनकम एज पर ओल्ड रेजिम के अंदर यू अप्लाई नॉर्मल रेट्स ऑफ टैक्स, एंड देन बुक प्रॉफिट इज ऑल्सो गिवन टू यू। तो बुक प्रॉफिट के ऊपर यू विल कैलकुलेट मिनिमम ऑल्टरनेट टैक्स, एंड अकॉर्डिंगली यू विल डिसाइड कि भाई ओल्ड रेजिम या न्यू रेजिम दोनों में से क्या लेना इस कंपनी के लिए बेटर है। इट्स अ बिग क्वेश्चन बट यू शुड ट्राई दिस क्वेश्चन ऑन योर ओन, अ गुड क्वालिटी क्वेश्चन। कॉन्सेप्ट वही है जो हमने डिस्कस किया है, इट शुड हेल्प योर प्रैक्टिस। वन थंब रूल ऑफ गेटिंग गुड मार्क्स इन डीटी, 4 अटेम्प्ट्स का आरटीपीस मिनिमम यू हैव टू सॉल्व। अगर आप ऑब्जर्व करोगे December 21 वी आर रिकॉर्डिंग राइट नाउ, द पास्ट 3 RTPs July 21, November 20, you will get them on the channel, you will get them, okay? Examine the tax consequences. Charitable institution having main objective of any other object or general public utility in the carries on business. Gross receipt during 2021 is 2 crore, which comprises of 44 lakh from business and 1.56 crore by voluntary contributions. It has applied 85%. What is the tax consequence? Maximum business receipts can be 20%. इसका 20% क्रॉस हो गया ना, 2 का 20% इज 40 लाख, मतलब इसका चैरिटेबल का स्टेटस चला जाए, करेक्ट? चैरिटेबल ट्रस्ट पेड एनुअल रेंट ऑफ 12 lakh in 1920 and 15 lakh in 2021 in respect of building used for charitable purposes after deducting TDS. However, the TDS of such rent of 1920, मतलब लास्ट ईयर का TDS was remitted in January 21 and this year का was remitted in July 21. आहा, क्वेश्चन इतना सा है लेकिन क्या ब्रेन लगाना पड़ेगा। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल लास्ट ईयर का रेंट वॉज 15 लाख, यू डिडक्टेड टीडीएस, लेकिन करंट ईयर में आपने देखो, मैं आपको है ना थोड़ा लाइन बना के समझाता हूं। 1920 इज 1 ईयर, 2021 इज अनदर ईयर, 21-22 इज द थर्ड ईयर। 1920 का जो रेंट है दैट इज 15 लाख, करेक्ट? इसका टीडीएस काटा है बट इट हैज टू बी डिपॉजिटेड बिफोर द ड्यू डेट। अगर ड्यू डेट में डिपॉजिट नहीं हुआ है तो यहां पे तो वो डिसअलाउ हो जाएगा, दैट विल बी 30%। 30% of 15 lakh will be disallowed here. But in 2021 we have deposited in January. तो जो अमाउंट लास्ट ईयर आपका डिसअलाउ हुआ था 4.5 लाख, कैन आई से वो 4.5 लाख इस साल आपका अलाउड हो जाएगा, जो लास्ट ईयर डिसअलाउ। बिकॉज लास्ट ईयर क्यों डिसअलाउ हुआ? ड्यू डेट के बाद में डिपॉजिट हुआ, दिस हैज बीन डिपॉजिटेड आफ्टर द ड्यू डेट। अगर समझ लो हमने इसको अप्रैल में, जून, जुलाई में डिपॉजिट किया होता ना, तो ये डिसअलाउ ही नहीं होता, तो यहां पे अलाउ भी नहीं होता। व्हाई इट गॉट डिसअलाउड? बिकॉज वी मिस्ड द ड्यू डेट। So if last year it got disallowed, current year it will be allowed. This is our current year for example. और जो current year का रेंट है, current year का रेंट कितना है? अच्छा माय बैड, सॉरी, लास्ट ईयर का 12 लाख है, तो लास्ट ईयर का 30% डिसअलाउ हुआ होगा, तो करंट ईयर में 3.6 विल बी अलाउड, और करंट ईयर का 15 लाख है, 15 लाख। हैव वी डिडक्टेड टीडीएस? सॉरी माय बैड, आई करेक्ट माई सेल्फ। करंट ईयर का इट इज 15 लाख, ये 12 था, लास्ट ईयर का 12, बट बाकी का एक्सप्लेनेशन इज करेक्ट ओनली। 30% विल गेट डिसअलाउड, व्हाई? क्योंकि आपने ड्यू डेट तक डिपॉजिट नहीं किया, ड्यू डेट के बाद मिस डिपॉजिट किया है, तो करंट ईयर में इट विल बी अलाउड। सो वॉट एवर गॉट डिसअलाउड लास्ट ईयर विल बी अलाउड इन द करंट ईयर। और करंट ईयर का रेंट इज 15 लाख रुपीज। ये करंट ईयर का जो 15 लाख रुपीज का रेंट है, इसका टीडीएस यू हैव डिपॉजिटेड व्हेन? मित्रों, जुलाई में कर दिया। सो इज इट बिफोर द ड्यू डेट? यस। तो ये तो पूरा का पूरा करंट ईयर में अलाउ हो जाएगा। दिस विल बी फुल्ली अलाउड इन द करंट ईयर, फुल्ली अलाउड। क्यों डिसअलावेंस यहां पे क्यों नहीं आएगा? क्योंकि ड्यू डेट के पहले डिपॉजिट हो गया। ईयर डिसअलावेंस केम बिकॉज दिस वाज आफ्टर द ड्यू डेट। इन अदर वर्ड्स, करंट ईयर का फुल 15 लाख विल बी अलाउड, नो डिसअलावेंस बिकॉज डिपॉजिटेड अप टू ड्यू डेट, एंड लास्ट ईयर का 3.6 जो लास्ट ईयर डिसअलाउ हुआ था वो ये साल अलाउ होगा बिकॉज डिपॉजिटेड इन द करंट ईयर आफ्टर द ड्यू डेट ऑफ द लास्ट ईयर. अकॉर्डिंगली इस साल का जो अलावेबल अमाउंट होगा दैट विल बिकम 18,60,000. 18,60,000 will be the current year allowed amount total. Okay. Charitable trust registered under 12AA with the objective of relief for the poor change object to other public utility and did not apply for fresh registration. नहीं अप्लाई किया मतलब डायरेक्टली इट बिकम्स अ केस ऑफ स्टॉपिंग योर चैरिटी एंड एप्लीकेबिलिटी ऑफ exit tax. 115 TD is going to be applicable. Maximum marginal rate for the purpose of 115 TD is 30% plus 12% plus 4%. That is going to be the applicable exit tax on this assessee. Okay. Next question number 18 is on that case law. वो जो end user license agreement के बारे में आज ही हमने डिस्कस किया. Okay. That same case law is discussed here. It's a question based on the case law only. Exactly question based on the case law which we discussed at the beginning, first part of the class. Okay. तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट के उस जजमेंट के ऊपर ही आया. Likewise, another case law that we saw today was that ITAT वाला जो केस था, I think that was PepsiCo का सुप्रीम कोर्ट जजमेंट कि अगर 365 डेज खत्म हो गया विदाउट फॉल्ट ऑफ द assessee, then will the stay get automatically vacated? नहीं तो डिपार्टमेंट जानबूझ के लेट करेगा and thus automatic vacancy नहीं आएगा. Okay. Hutch Limited engaged in the development of housing project, filed its return of income claiming 40 lakh under 80 IBA. Return was selected for scrutiny. In the assessment, 18 lakh was disallowed for non-deduction. The AO, however, limited the deduction to the original amount claimed by Hutch, and Hutch contended that it was eligible for 58. So this is again a case law based question. This case law is not in the RTP. In our regular batches, we have kept a case law ka lecture in which we discussed in the deductions ka lecture. Go and check the deductions ka lecture that we have done. सुनील विश्वंभर नाथ तिवारी करके एक केस लॉ, तिवारी था या त्रिवेदी था यार, कभी कभी नाम में थोड़ा सा दिक्कत हो जाता है. आई थिंक इट वॉज सुनील विश्वंभर नाथ तिवारी ओनली. इन दैट केस लॉ इट वॉज हेल्ड दैट अगर डिसअलावेंस की वजह से योर टैक्सेबल इनकम इज इंक्रीजिंग तो दैट एक्स्ट्रा अमाउंट विल बी एलिजिबल फॉर योर डिडक्शन इफ इट इज इंक्रीजिंग बिकॉज ऑफ डिसअलावेंस. नेक्स्ट इज अ वेरी वेरी स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड क्वेश्चन ऑन यूनिलैटरल रिलीफ. हमारे टेक्स्ट बुक का अगर आपने क्वेश्चन नंबर 6 मिस्टर विकास वाला क्वेश्चन किया हुआ है तो यू कैन डू एनीथिंग इन यूनिलैटरल रिलीफ सिमिलर टू दैट एग्जाम, सिमिलर टू दैट आवर क्लासरूम का जो क्वेश्चन नंबर 6 है ना मिस्टर विकास वाला, दिस क्वेश्चन इज सिमिलर टू दैट क्वेश्चन. सो यू विल नॉट बी हैविंग एनी डिफिकल्टी इन सॉल्विंग दिस क्वेश्चन. यूनिलैटरल रिलीफ के ऊपर सिंपल बेसिक स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड क्वेश्चन. क्वेश्चन 22 इफ यू ऑब्जर्व, ये रिटर्न का हिसाब से तो नहीं देखने का. दिस इज योर 5 लाख का अंडर रिपोर्टिंग, दिस इज योर 3 लाख का अंडर रिपोर्टिंग. अंडर रिपोर्टिंग का पेनल्टी आपको कंप्यूट करने के लिए बोला है. वेरी सिंपल एंड स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड. प्लेंटी ऑफ क्वेश्चंस वी हैव डन इन क्लास, प्लेंटी ऑफ एमसीक्यूज वी हैव डन. सिंपल क्वेश्चन ऑन अंडर रिपोर्टिंग एंड मिस रिपोर्टिंग. नेक्स्ट इज अ क्वेश्चन ऑन एडजस्टमेंट ऑफ ट्रांसफर प्राइसिंग. सम ट्रांजैक्शंस आर गिवन एंड यू हैव टू डिसाइड वेदर ट्रांसफर प्राइसिंग इज एप्लीकेबल और नो. याद रहे अगर रिलेटेड पार्टी से आपने इनकम कम दिखाया या एक्सपेंस ज्यादा दिखाया तो दैट मच कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंगली विल बी added in your income. So you just have to do your transfer pricing adjustment. It's a question on transfer pricing that is आपका इंटरनेशनल टैक्स का पार्ट है. वेरी सिंपल एंड बेसिक क्वेश्चंस. अगर आप अपने क्लास के टेक्स्ट बुक के क्वेश्चन नंबर 7, 8, 10 ये सब देखोगे तो इट इज सिमिलर टू दैट ओनली. एनालाइज द टैक्स कॉन्सिक्वेंस इन द हैंड्स ऑफ मिस्टर यूज ग्रांट, अ नॉन रेसिडेंट फॉर AY 21-22 in respect of FTS received from Himalaya in Indian company pursuant of agreement by central government. If no DTAA, no DTAA होएगा तो नॉर्मल 115A के हिसाब से 10%. If there is DTAA and it provides for 8% तो वो beneficial है तो obviously we will take DTAA. And if the DTAA provides for 15% then again we will go for normal. No यार, बस इतना याद रहे that DTAA का रेट अगर आपने चूज किया ना, which is this is the only case. So no DTAA में you have to choose as per 115. Here you have to choose as per DTAA. And if DTAA is higher so you have the option no normal provisions or DTAA whichever is beneficial. Again you will go in 115A. तो A और C where you are choosing 115A उसमें HEC ऐड होगा, लेकिन जब you are choosing DTAA उसमें HEC ऐड नहीं होगा. So and he does not have a fixed place of business. अगर fixed place of business और profession आ जाता तो he has to maintain books of accounts. If he has fixed place of business तो 44DA के हिसाब से normal rate of tax लग जाएगा. Normal rate of tax is going to be applicable. And will he be exempt from filing of return? Pay attention. 115A, AC, BBA and 115G. चार ऐसा सेक्शन है, A, AC, BBA and 115G. If there is no other income and TDS is deducted. No other income and TDS is deducted. No other income and TDS is deducted. तो no need to file ROI. तो अगर आप 115A में हो, no need to file ROI. If TDS is deducted, no need to file ROI. लेकिन अगर आप DTA double A लोगे, तो फिर it is not 115A. फिर आपको ROI फाइल करना पड़ेगा. And if it is a fixed place of business profession, then 44DA will be applicable. Finally, question number 25. Assessing officer with prior approval of Commissioner of Income Tax surveyed Good Day Cyber Cafe within its jurisdiction 1 a.m. on 1st June 20 for the purpose of obtaining information. It is kept open between 2 p.m. and 2 a.m. See, अगर business premises है तो working hours के अंदर survey can be conducted. Survey बोला ना? Survey can be conducted. And on 15 June he surveyed Bright Light Cyber Cafe. Cyber Cafe में थोड़ा ज्यादा interest है. Good Day and Bright Light नाम भी मस्त है. Which was also within his jurisdiction, वो 11 p.m. and that is also kept open. मतलब एक बात तो पक्की है, that whether Good Day or Bright Light, both are surveyed during the working hours, but the difference is, here they have used the word survey, और here survey बोला मतलब it becomes a case of 133. और here बोला collecting information, this is important. When they say collecting information, मतलब they are referring to 133. In the MCQ lecture also I have told you this, that whenever they refer power to collect information, that means they are referring to door-to-door survey. In both cases, AO impounded and retained in his custody for a period of 12 days. Books of accounts and other documents. The AO did not take permission from CIT. पहली बात तो for the purpose of 133B, not allowed only. Only one power is available, Form 45D. For the purpose of 133A, it is allowed because CIT का permission is required when you want to extend beyond 15 days. Can you impound, that is take in custody, books of accounts in 133A? Yes. Maximum 15 working days extension चाहिए तो CIT. मतलब here taking custody is valid because it is 12 days, permission not required. And here with permission or without permission, 133B में taking custody is not allowed. The owner of Cyber Cafe claimed that you could not enter the Cyber Cafe after sunset. ये तो दोनों का ही आर्ग्यूमेंट रॉन्ग है बिकॉज ड्यूरिंग वर्किंग आवर्स दे आर अलाउड टू एंटर एंड नॉट अलाउड टू टेक अवे द बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स. इन दिस नॉट अलाउड टू टेक अवे बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स, ये वाला साइबर कैफे इज रॉन्ग बिकॉज हियर ही इज अलाउड, इट्स अ सर्वे. ये वाला साइबर कैफे इज राइट. इन अदर वर्ड्स, द फर्स्ट साइबर कैफे दैट इज गुड डे इज अ केस ऑफ 133A एंड ब्राइट लाइट इज अ केस ऑफ 133B. एज फार एज एंट्री इज कंसर्न, एंट्री थोड़ा सा कॉलम बना के, Good Day, Bright Light. Survey of 133A, door-to-door survey. As far as entry is concerned during working hours, that means, can I say, AO is right in both? And as far as impounding books of accounts is concerned, here the AO is right. Why? He does not need CIT permission. That is required if he wants to retain beyond 15 days. But here the AO is wrong because in 133B, impounding books of accounts ka power is not available only. Impounding power not available. The only power available is to make the assessee fill up Form 45D. Other than that, there is no other power available. So that was our 25th question. Good quality questions, and that also happens to be our last question of our RTP lecture. Once again, I know I am a little late, but there were plenty of other things that I was tied up with. So I hope we have had a proper discussion. I wish you all, this is probably the last interaction with December 21 students. All the best, lots of love. And once again, in December 21, remember the only target is highest number of exemptions across the country. If you wish to participate with me in that, then comment here. YouTuber की तरह नाटक I will do. Comment, मुझे चाहिए exemption, मुझे चाहिए exemption. Comment on the video. Have a nice day. Thank you very much, please. Thank you so much.